Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this episode of Magnificence. I am here as your dungeon master. My name is G. I'm so happy to have you back. I'm so happy to be back, as I'm sure everyone else at our virtual table is. We're always happy to be here and just tell a nice story for everyone that may be listening in. I hope you're enjoying as much as we are. As always, right before we get into things, just another shout out to Sarson Games for the source book that we use throughout this game. A very fun source book full of multiple homebrew subclasses and a very fun and interesting pantheon of gods that we maybe got to witness a little bit more of our last session. To recap our last session, our party spent some time discussing how to cross this deep, long underground lake. And by some time, I mean quite a bit of time, determining the best possible route and the least dangerous, utilizing both Kuvos's natural advantages in the water, various forms of spellcraft, and a little half-sunken raft that Duke Leto pulled out of the water. Taking some time to cross over the lake. Some of our party members nearly had some mishaps crossing over, not as good at swimming as the others. But the lake was crossed without issue, and the party continued on, some a bit more exhausted than the others from the trek across the dark, still waters. Continuing down a narrow passageway, one of our party members notices a strange light in the rock, in the earth, turning to follow this red light separating from the party, and having a unique experience, is all I'll say for that. The rest of our party continues on, not realizing Cerridwen having separated from the party and coming face to face with a group of ambushing creatures, these spider-like beings made out of skeletons and bone and scraps of fabric, the remains of creatures long past, or so they think. After a bit of battle with these creatures as they all fall, taking a moment to reconstitute themselves, looking about, trying to investigate what these creatures are, our very own mad scientist of the party, Leto, takes a look at one of them specifically, pulling from the tattered fabric remains of the clothing hung around these skeletal spiders a small symbol of House Tallcaster, a symbol that he gave to some of the mercenaries acting on his behalf, the mercenaries that disappeared down here underground on some of the very first expeditions to Mor Akros. It is there that we rejoin our party, standing amongst the remains of these strange creatures, the revelation that Leto brings to light, holding this badge of House Talcaster, their house heraldry, the rings of iron, several loops of spiked and scuffed iron looped around each other. He holds it up towards the party, a bit shocked in his expression, in his cadence.
We should think about this somewhere else. We made a lot of noise during that combat, and I don't think that those were the only ones.
We shouldn't go far before we find Cerridwen.
Wait.
Cerridwen, you pulled away from the party mere moments ago to follow this strange light deep in the earth, the presence of which should be impossible and strange, but not quite to you. You're moving your way through this small, cramped passageway, similar to the dozens and dozens of others that you and the party have had to traverse so far since you've entered this cave system. As you push through, you very often have to grab onto pieces of rock sticking out of the wall to pull yourself forward, to give yourself that extra edge to duck, and you climb, and several minutes of you just quietly pulling and clawing your way through this tiny, jagged passage. being further and further covered in dirt and dust and debris as you go. The light grows more clear. It's stronger as you finally reach the end. Pulling yourself out of this small crevasse, you break into a room. Not very big, just enough to hold this small, old, decrepit altar that sits opposite you. It was carved from one stone. There's imagery that has been crumpled and faded with time. You can tell no one has been here for quite a while. To the unknowing person's eye, you would have no idea who this belonged to. But you know, because you were specifically led here. Red light emanates from the candles that both sit on opposite ends of this stone altar. They are unnatural, deep, crimson flames, the only lights provided for you in this passage. Sitting at the center, looking much, much newer than everything else around it, is a small wooden box that is propped open, with a gentle, modest velvet inlay with a little indentation. Just a simple round hole, about the size of that silver charm at the end of that strange necklace. This is what is laid before you, Cerridwen. What would you like to do?
I move towards the altar, removing my medallion from my pocket, feeling its smoothness and strangeness. And I lay it in the velvet in the box.
You take that blank silver disc at the end of a long string of worn wooden beads. You place it in the box, beads coiled around it, almost like a serpent. And the lid of the box falls closed, and the candles go out. Where once you were standing in, though a small but open room, you now feel once again the oppressiveness of the loose earth against your skin, against your clothing, your face. But it's not like it was before. The closeness, the huddled earth all around you is not suffocating. It's cold, and it's familiar. But you can still breathe here in the earth. Several moments in that dark, cramped space pass. How is Carrie feeling when nothing is happening in these long stretches of time where you are just within the earth once again?
There is a moment, or several, probably, of fear, of regret. Did I make a mistake? Was this not? And then that fades as they repeat really to themselves internally. I am not afraid. I was born for this. I am not afraid. I am not afraid.
You repeat those words to yourself, here in the cold darkness of the earth. Slowly, that red light fades back. You are still deep pressed in the dirt, but there's now a hollow in front of you. Enough for you to be able to see the small, dugout space, about just 3-4 feet of space, where one of those candles from the altar now sits in front of you again, providing a light. And something in front of it, small and squirming on the ground. It looks insectoid at first, and you have to sort of blink your eyes to focus, and as you look a bit closer, you realize what it is. A burst butterfly cocoon, with an only half-formed butterfly sticking out of it. Not quite finished, but unearthed nonetheless. And now, it simply has to live. You focus in on this half-formed butterfly squirming in the dirt as it tries to turn and flip and flap its one malformed wing. It just kicks up more spots of earth onto its body. and it crawls its way out again, but tries to take flight once again, but is unable to. You watch it bury and unbury itself in its struggle over and over again. As the candle slowly dims once again, having shown you what it needed you to see. Now, the darkness hits. The earth pressing down on your body fades slowly. Light flares up once again, slowly and gently, and you're in that room once more. But the altar is no longer there. Just the wooden, narrow shape of that empty coffin. And as you look inside of it, you do not see the bottom. You just see blackness, as if it goes on forever on the inside.
I am not afraid. I was born for this, and I will jump into the coffin.
Cerridwen, you repeat that mantra to yourself and step forward. And maybe not quite a leap of faith, just allowing yourself to fall. As you drop into that darkness that is in the interior of this old wooden coffin, you continue to fall, and you continue to fall. And in that stretch of falling in that darkness, you hear far, far away the sound of those waves churning, once calm waters that carried you slowly and steadily, becoming more agitated. And hearing that, you focus on the darkness around you, and you realize it is the moving, roiling smoke. You feel nothing inside of the ring of smoke. No cold, no heat. Almost a complete, numb sensation. You aren't even aware of your fingers, your toes, your legs, your arms. And as quickly as this fog begins to oppress you and consume you, it is gone. You open your eyes, having not realized they were ever even closed, to yourself laying on the ground of that small altar room, just as it was when you first entered. Your eyes carry over to look back at that box that you placed the holy symbol in. It is still closed and sitting atop the altar.
I think there is a part of me that sort of subconsciously checks for, injury, bodily harm, uh, habitually, more than an actual concern for my own well-being. And finding nothing, I move back towards the altar to reclaim what is mine.
You open the wooden box, and you do see what you expect. That necklace, that medallion, a string of worn wooden beads. However, you also see a folded page. And on the face of it, one of the folded halves, you see in very scrawled, messy script, as if written by someone who isn't quite literate. It says very simply, a warning. You take the page. For a moment, perhaps curious as to what a warning could mean, flipping it open. Two things I think are noticeable to carry, just holding this page in your hands. The form of parchment and the state that it's in. And just some of the language used for some reason reminds you greatly of that tome. The Compendium of Sorrows. Whether they're related in some way or just similar in age or origin, that much is unclear. But the state of this single page does remind you of that tome. Second thing you notice, unlike the compendium where it was kept in rather excellent condition, this page is weathered. There are some holes and tears, some smudging of the ink. Barely any of it is legible. What Cerridwen is able to pick up from this page is very little, but it is as follows. You get snippets of words that make no sense, even strung together. You read things like the holy death. The word requiem appears over and over and over again. You see spirits and the spirit. You see the spirit of, but never anything beyond that. You see something about trust them, protect them, to safeguard them. and the level of trust is achieved. This is when, try as you might, anything beyond that is illegible on this page. Beyond that, retrieving your holy symbol, as you pick up that silver disc medallion, you come to notice it is less circular, less blank, less smooth. Not quite fully formed, missing parts. Like the butterfly, like the page, like yourself. The circular shape looks to be slightly molded, as if it's at the start of a sculpture, but you're not quite sure what shape it's trying to take on. There are small carvings into the face of this silver medallion, once again, the start of something. But it's unclear what symbol it's trying to form, as if it's almost still to be determined. The symbol feels cold, freezing in your hand. The same, but different. You have the page, and you have the symbol, and the red crimson light of the candles begins to turn to what you would expect of normal, warm candlelight, as whatever was here in this room with you begins to leave. And you have what you need in your hands.
Cerridwen takes another look at the page, the paper, not sure how this constitutes a warning. She's not a super cerebral intellectual. This might be... I think that she sort of realizes she may have to ask someone about it. This may be a moment of vulnerability in the near future if she wants answers from this. So the page is tucked into a deep pocket, and the medallion around her neck under her clothes. And then I will pick up one of the regular now candles, having a moment of suspicion because the last time I randomly picked up a candle, it didn't work out super great for me right away. But otherwise, it's total darkness on the way out, and I need something to move through. So I will pick up a candle and either turn to see if I can go back out the way I came, or if there appears to be another way through. But I think back out the way I came makes the most sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Picking up the candle, the soft earth and rock wall next to you, there was one entrance into this room that you came from, but sort of near the altar, the wall does kind of cave in on itself a bit, opening up a new passage for you. And you stand and wait, listening to the collision of rock and stone and dirt until it finally quiets. And you hear, very muffled ahead of you, the familiar voices of your party.
Time to go rejoin those people, I guess. I think I'm with them for a reason too. Think about some of the words on the page and then sort of shove that down a little. That's enough introspection for now, I think.
Yeah, Cerridwen. Steeling yourself, you stash away your items that you've retrieved, continue down the passage, back towards the party that you have for now joined, and you continue on with your quest.
Perfect ironic timing. Everyone realizes that they're gone, and that I think is a perfect time for her to emerge from a nearby crevice that looked like just like a shadowy, deep cut in a rock. But you're like, oh wait, there was actually a small, squeezable passage through there. So they'll squeeze their way out and see the, bone remnants and whatnot. Clearly, I missed something.
Where the fuck were you?
I had some business to attend to.
With what?
In more Akro?
Let's take this somewhere else.
You're all standing around, various questions and queries floating around everyone's head. No one quite sure, with both monsters and Carrie's terrifying appearance out of the rock and stone. You all begin to gather your things to trek on. Merely a few steps are taken from everyone before you feel that rumbling similar to the vibrations you've been feeling through the earth when you use the heart mimic, but stronger. You guys are very deep underground at this point in time. You are closer to the heart of Mor Akros than anyone has ever gotten, and you're not even at the outskirts of the city yet. You feel that rumbling deep beneath you. It starts small, just making you aware of it, but then it builds and builds and builds to the point where suddenly some of you are starting to lose your balance. It is rumbling the earth so violently and so strongly. You see Leto stumbles as he tries to take a step and falls to one knee and looks up with a bit of a panicked expression on his face as he tries to stand, and another rumbling echoes through the chamber, making the earth shake, making the rocks split. You all hear a deafening crack, like the loudest thunder you've ever heard. Only you are underground. This is no storm. This is not rainfall. You look up as you see large chunks of the rock begin to loosen. Everyone, please make me a dexterity saving throw as this large rumbling in the wake of this attack begins to collapse part of the cavern.
Because I did roll a 5, so I don't think I can hit the DC.
Is there any chance that I could make it to Leto as this is happening, or no?
Just the protective tackle.
Yeah.
What is your dex save? If you succeed, tell me what your dex save is, depending on if you succeeded it or not.
Okay, probably not. I got a 12.
Yeah, a 12. You did not succeed, unfortunately, my friend.
19 for Kuvos.
Okay, 19 for Kuvos. Alina, what'd you get?
16.
16. Rosie, you got 5, you said? Okay, so that's a failure for Olwen and Sage so far. Carrie?
Dirty 20.
That's a success. And Naime.
Natural 20.
Ooh! Amazing. So we have failures. Leto did succeed. Barely. He's just a guy. All right. So we only have failures from Sage and Olwen. So as this rock fall begins, the majority of you are able to scatter and dive out of the way. Some of the larger chunks do still hit you guys. You guys are not getting out completely scot-free, but you are not taking the full force of this damage. So those of you who dive just out of the way, you guys are going to take 7, 10, 14, 7 points of bludgeoning damage. So all of our successes, you guys only take 7. Leto gets clocked in the side of the head with like a baseball-sized boulder. Again, he's just a guy, so his HP is dog shit. So that 7 bludgeoning really takes a lot out of him, you can see. So our failures, that's 8, 10, 13 points of bludgeoning damage to both of our failed dex saves. And you guys are under the restrained condition. You guys get pinned under some of these large boulders. So everyone, you take your number of damage. Those of you who escape, you guys get out of the way. Some of you taking a few small hits from some of the rocks. Sage and Olwen, you guys turn around to see them, not like totally buried to the point that you cannot see them, but you see like large boulders have effectively like blocked their way. Some of them have like pinned them against the wall, against the ground a little bit, to the point where you two cannot move. You guys are totally trapped by these, having taken the damage. So, in the wake of this rock fall here, you guys turn and see 2 of your party members now trapped amongst the rubble. The ground and the walls and the ceiling keep shaking even after the rocks fall, as if threatening to continue the collapse. What are you guys doing?
Kuvos is immediately making his way over to try and help in some way, shape, or form.
Anyone who's trying to just, like, brute force, straight up pull them out, move rocks out of the way, that's just going to be a DC 12 strength check.
Am I able to get enough wiggle room to do a spell that takes somatic components?
You would have to pass the same strength check. Because it's essentially pulling yourself free, moving rocks to get movement. And if you have spells you want to try about it, you guys can give each other advantage if you like, however you guys would like to handle it.
Yeah, I was asking because I could Vortex Warp Olwen out, but I need to be able to move enough to do the somatic components to do that, so.
Yeah.
Could I use, alternate between using True Strike and Eldritch Blast to free somebody by targeting weak points.
Is it weird? I was kind of hoping you would say that. I love the idea of just like, hey, rockfall, I'm gonna blast this apart. I love it. Absolutely.
Well, that's why the true strike, so that I'm not hitting like
Yes.
wildly and randomly. I'm like, okay, this is a good spot to hit. It's not going to collapse everything, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead and roll to hit. We'll treat it like it doesn't. You're going to hit it no matter what. So the predetermined AC that this rockfall has, if you roll too low, it's essentially going to be hitting it not in the correct point, of course.
Can I give her inspiration or also use True Strike to have a similar sense of where it should land?
For sure. If you want to do inspiration, anyone want to give the help action for strength checks, anything like that.
I was going to ask if, because Kuvos was using the Maximilian's Earthen Grasp, which is a concentration spell for the last fight. I don't know if he necessarily would have dropped concentration yet, just given like how quickly after the fight this happened. Is there any chance I could move it to... I don't know if I'd have to make a concentration check to see if I kept concentration while we were like diving out of the way of the rocks.
Yes. If you can succeed that concentration from that 7 damage you took, then I will say you still have it up.
Okay.
And you can use it to... Yeah, you can definitely use it.
Okay, so that's 18 for that save.
Oh yeah, 18, you absolutely succeed. So yeah, you still have that up.
So he's going to use that to pull rocks off of whoever else is still trapped. Because he himself is tiny and has no strength, but giant rock hand? Hell yes.
I will say, using the Earthen Grasp, it is honestly such a perfect spell for this exact scenario, since you still had it up. You don't even have to make a check using the hand. So you can just start pulling rocks out of the way. Naime, for your roll with Eldritch Blast, what did you roll?
I rolled a 16 plus 7 for the attack. That's 23, plus any other bonuses people may provide.
Yeah, wonderful. You are able to expertly target a weak point between some of the rocks. I will say you are able to easier get to Olwen with your targeting Eldritch Blast, while Kuvos is kind of focusing more over on Sage's side, pulling the rocks out of the way. So how much, just roll damage for me real quick, just for goofs and laughs. Let's see.
Only 3.
Yeah, easily enough, using Eldritch Blast, this magical, just forceful beam firing into this rock. Easily enough, you rolled high enough to hit. You are able to target some of the weak points. It's not going to completely clear the rubble, but it is going to lower the strength DC for Olwen to pull himself out or other people to help pull them out. So it's going to go from DC 12 for Olwen. We're going to go down to DC 9 from the damage that you did.
I can offer a help action on someone's strength check. Carrie's not particularly strong themselves, so...
Elena is also incredibly not strong.
So as you two are getting freed at the same time, you get out with the Earthen Grasp. At the same time, the Eldritch Blast goes off and loosens some of the rubble. So you have a little bit of a glance of Olwen. They're a bit more covered now just because the rubble is turning more into smaller pebbles and loose dirt. So it's burying you a little bit, Olwen. You're pinned to the ground a little bit. You're still able to, like, see and breathe and everything just fine, but, like, your lower extremities are really covered in pebbles and dirt and rock at this point. It's starting to get a little claustrophobic. I
think as, like, the dust and rocks are falling on his head, all you hear from the other side are just, like... as Olwen is just trying to pull himself out. I don't think he's hearing anything.
Hearing that coughing from Olwen, where he's buried, you guys quickly hear that the sound of Olwen's voice is overshadowed by more rumbling. It shakes the entire cavern. It shakes some of the rocks and rubble loose. Some of it goes deeper in. But you see the ceiling again as the rocks split, but stay put. They are not quite falling again, but they are getting close. So, we have Sage free, Olwen is still underground, DC is now 9 to pull him out.
We need to go now, and Kuvos is going to turn his attention to Olwen and helping him get out from under the rubble fully.
Absolutely. Using your Earthing Grasp, easy enough to go basically in the next round of this rock fall. You go use the Earthing Grasp to move a bunch of the dirt and rock out of the way. Olwen, suddenly you feel a bit of panic in your chest as you see a huge pile of more rubble and stone moving towards you quickly, but you realize shortly after this is the spell you've seen Kuvos wield, and it is not covering you further, it is pushing the rock out of the way. Relief in your chest as it helps to pull you free. You are now all free. You guys see Leto has looked back from where you came. Where you have come from is completely buried. There is no going back at this point. The rockfall has blocked your exit. So he has instead looked to just the closest exit from this cavern, not taking the time to even activate the heart mimic, not caring where you go as long as it's not here. Leto is at sort of the mouth of this next entrance, this next little stone passageway, and is motioning you all to follow as he sees you're all free.
As we're moving, can I make some kind of check to see if I feel like this is my fault with having cast Shatter during that combat? Because I'm a little worried that might have something to do with it, and I'm trying to decide how guilty I feel and whether I will ever cast that spell underground again.
I will say, go ahead and just we'll just call this an insight check. Just insight check the underground city. And you can do this as you guys are running. So as you're finishing this check, you guys will be going down the passage.
How high up is the ceiling as Sage is making this check?
I would say it's pretty high up. You guys were in a pretty big cavern, so maybe like 15 to 20 feet.
13 on that insight check?
The 13, I would say, is not enough to know whether there is fault or not. There have been vibrations and rumbling the entire time you're in here, so it's not uncommon, though this is stronger than all of the others that you have felt. So to Sage, it's very unclear whether this is the same as the others, or if it was something you did that triggered it. I would say something about that battle gave a response to the earth itself, because of course this is stronger than anything you've experienced so far.
Got it.
As we're like running, how far away are we from Leto and like the exit that he's found?
Just like 10 feet or so. It's really easy it's like the majority, half of the cavern has already collapsed, and you guys have just pulled yourself from the rubble and diving into the first passage you see. So easy enough to run over.
I would like to take an improvise action as we're running towards Leto. Could I try casting Entangle to restrain the rocks and the ceiling to stop them from falling?
Yeah, if you'd like to cast that spell. It will basically give, I've been rolling for the rocks, basically to see how they're able to hold on, seeing if they're going to collapse sooner rather than later. It's basically going to give that advantage. So if you just want to cast that spell, it's essentially going to give me advantage to roll to keep them in place.
So I think as we're like running, Olwen pulls one of the arrows off of his back as he grips it hard, the arrowhead into his hand. The same vines grow on it from other spells that he's cast before, but this time instead of firing the arrow, he stabs it very lightly into the ground as vines and weeds snake up to the ceiling to reinforce it slightly. As we're running, and Olwen's just going to mutter to himself, whether or not someone else hears it, and he says, I'm so glad that worked.
Amazing. So for I'll call this our last action as you guys are fleeing this cavern. Carrie, did you have something?
Yeah, so I was wondering that somewhere in the chaos of all this, since Carrie did not help anyone escape from the dirt, Leto looking pretty obviously injured. Like he's pretty banged up because he's just some guy.
That 7 HP was a good chunk of what he had.
Okay, Carrie is feeling newly empowered and like much more confident in being down here and what they are meant to be doing to some extent. So as everyone else is worrying about rocks and freeing people, and Leto is beating a hasty exit for the nearest direction, I think Carrie would like to offer him her arm to like offer him some assistance to move him along. And I would like to cast Cure Wounds on Duke Leto.
Absolutely. Oh.
And I rolled an 8 on the D8.
Yay!
So he
First
gets
cure wounds.
So he gets whatever 8 plus 3 is 11 HP. Yeah.
Perfect. That absolutely goes through. Heals Leto back to full. I will ask real quick, just for clarification, because there are 2 ways you can cast that spell right now. Whether just normally or through a certain book that you've gotten recently. The level will change depending on how you cast it, because the book casts it at a specific level.
I'm intentionally only casting it at first level. Like
I'm just using your own spell slot.
My own spell slot, because I am feeling more assured in like touching this divine magic that Sage has called me out on having access to, where at first I was like, well, maybe, but like now, yes, I'm quite sure that's really happening. But I also know that Duke Leto, I mean, there's a little meta knowledge. He's just a guy. Like he doesn't need an upcast.
Perfect. Yeah, this is happening as they're digging everyone out.
Right.
Of course. So while he is like at the entrance for this passage, you're healing him up, just kind of as chill and as casually as you can. The like giant welts on his temple from the rock that hit him on the head. There's like blood down the side of his face. It shrinks and closes up, and he immediately blinks like a massive headache he got is suddenly gone. He is focused on what's at hand. It doesn't pay any attention to you, and continues the escape. You all flee from this cavern. You hear rocks continue to fall behind you. And as you guys are rushing through this small passageway, it is pretty thin. It is another one of those. You guys have traveled through more Akros primarily in single file order because it just has not been big enough for you guys to stand side by side. And that is also the case in this passageway. You guys are like going sideways, shuffling quickly as you can down this passageway. You're not able to fully run because it's such a narrow entry, and you guys hear the rumbling all around you continuing to echo, and you feel spots of dirt and small pebbles flying off of the tops of your heads and your shoulders. It's like hitting you in the face. You guys are quickly moving through. It feels like it is closing in on you as you guys are going as fast as you can through this passageway. You hear the cavern behind you continue its collapse, and again, the way to go back collapses. You guys cannot go back from this point on. You are here in Mor Akros to stay until you find another way out. But that is not what is on your minds. The only thing on everyone's mind at this point is escape. As we continue to move through this passageway, I'm going to ask for one more check from everyone. Everyone, please give me an athletics check. Alina, what'd you get?
19.
Sage?
2 minus 1 for 1.
Kuvos?
5.
5. Olwen?
15 plus 4, 19.
Wonderful. Carrie?
A flat 16 plus 0.
Beautiful. And Naime?
16.
16. So we have 2 more fails from Sage and Kuvos.
We're wizards, baby.
Yep.
Well, it's nice to know you guys.
So Sage and Kuvos, you are each going to take 12 more points of bludgeoning damage. You guys are not restrained. It's mostly just a collective from a lot of the rubble that you're unable to avoid. Larger chunks that fall down this cavern, you're not able to move fast enough, and there's not enough room to navigate around it. It's like hitting your shoulder and like hitting like your arms as you're trying to push through. Some like bounce off like the side of the head. You two are getting battered in this small cavern.
I think one of those like bounces off the side of like Kuvos' temple or something, and he kind of like stumbles into the rock. He's looking pretty fucked up right now, guys.
Good thing that was our last check, because at the end of that check, you guys are getting out of this narrow passageway as the rumbling stops. It slowly fades out. You guys all like stumble out of this narrow passageway into another small area. It's not a big cavern. It's essentially like broom closet size, but it's enough room that you guys are not like single file smushed into the rock anymore. But you all kind of like jump out, collapse. Some of you are like on hands and knees. Those of you that are a bit more hurt are like blinking like blood from your eyes and like coughing dirt and just dust out of your lungs. It's a lot. But the rumbling has stopped and silence falls over. Those of you who don't have dark vision are in complete blackness as Leto struggles, kind of muttering to himself as you guys hear him digging around in the pack, and you hear a flick, flick, flick as he lights a torch, sets it down to give you all a bit of light, and you're all sitting in this quiet, dimly lit, tiny little room amongst all of this rock and stone, gasping, catching your breath, coughing, and pushing blood from your face, just in rough shape.
This space is too small for fire. Sage like reaches out, just whatever first piece of rubble that she grabs, casts the light cantrip on it.
Leto nods and kind of stamps out the torch, kind of getting what you're putting down.
All right.
Now, what the fuck would we have done if you hadn't found us before that happened?
Do that later. Who's hurt? I have something. I have 40 HP worth of good berries to pass around. Who needs some?
Me, please.
Would love some, thank you.
Okay. Just tell me how much you're taking.
I need 10.
Alright, that's 10 for you. How much are you taking, Kuvos?
I'll take 15.
Okay, so 10, 15, 7. That's minus 22.
Leto's sitting there, just kind of sitting back. He leans up against one of the walls and pushes some of the blood from the wound that is now closed out of his face. It's just like...
Leto, you got hit. Do you need some good berries?
I'm quite alright. I'll be fine. Worry about yourselves. You are the ones that are meant to be the shield between me and all of this, so I will be fine. Carrie, he gives you the briefest look, but does not dwell on it. I would say I would set the heart mimic to see where to go from here, but I am not eager to set off another bit of rumbling after that, not for a while.
Naime, just off to the side, presses her hands over her heart and in a moment of concentration, bowed head, there is a bit of light from under her hands, and a couple of the bruises and welts that she has kind of fade as she is using her innate healing hands ability.
While we're here, and because I know that I guess this works because we're underground, can I reinforce this small little space with another entangle just to make sure that, hey, we're not going to collapse here while we catch our breath?
Yeah, it'll be the same mechanic, of course. Just spend the spell slot, and you guys basically see the walls and the ceiling get covered in these green vines that reinforce it a little bit, maybe make you guys feel a little better.
Thank you, Owen.
Yes, thank you.
That was exciting.
Did that come out of nowhere? What happened? Was it those things? You think they knocked some of the rocks loose when they attacked us?
No, I don't believe so. I think whatever lies at the heart of this place is aware of us. It is alert and awake.
It could have just been the tremors from the spells that I was casting, though. I can't tell.
Gee, are there any of those vines from the beginning around, or are we in just like pure dirt at this point?
Glad you asked. So, in the beginning of the journey, for like the first couple like miles that you guys were trekking, those vines at the very beginning were constant. After a couple miles, they started to lessen And after a couple more miles, they were basically gone. They just started to split off and start individually going like into the rock and such. So it looks like a couple miles from the entrance, like several miles, they started growing out of the rock and going towards the exit. This deep in, you have seen nothing but rock and stone for days on end. Leto kind of perks up as you speak, Naime, and nods to you as he looks over towards Sage. Just based on previous evidence, I would put my bets on whatever this heart is. I mean, the heart mimic is built off of whatever is at the center of Mor Akros sending these tremors. I don't know why this one was so strong, but that would be my guess, is it's whatever is at the center that we're trying to find anyways.
Can Olwen get low to the ground, press his ear against it, just to sort of feel for any sort of vibrations? Does it seem like it's stopped?
Yeah.
Or are there still micro ones he can feel?
I will say, go ahead and make me a perception check.
That is a dirty 20.
In the silence of the aftermath of both this attack and this rockfall, everyone kind of sitting in their own thoughts for a bit. Olwen, you sit up and shuffle around to put hands and knees on the ground and lower your face, and you press your ear flat against the dusty stone. And everyone, you all just kind of watch as Olwen does this action. And you sit there in that position for several long, quiet seconds, just listening. Close your eyes, waiting for any sort of movement. And after a minute of silence, you hear deep within the earth, buried by rock and stone and shadow, you hear echoing up towards you. And it slows and fades and returns to silence. You don't know what, but there it is. Something down here with you.
There's something here. I could hear almost like a clicking sound, but it's gone now. It's quiet.
Did it sound like the skeletons from before?
It sounds almost animalistic. Not the same.
I was going to ask if it sounded natural or mechanical.
The skeletons before, this one sounds different. It sounds almost like an animal.
Then whatever we've disturbed, we might want to make sure we lay low for a bit until it passes on.
Stay here, stay quiet, rest.
I think that this is as good a plan as any. Stay here in this tiny little space and sleep the best we can.
All right.
We need to keep someone up as watch.
I'll take the first one. We've got good ears, at least since it just left, just in case it comes back.
I'll set the alarm perimeter.
If you guys are trying to have watch shifts for the entire night, I will need 3 people to take watch. If you want to have watch and the perimeter, you can put the perimeter, of course.
I only need 4 hours of rest.
Oh, perfect. Then in that case, we can split it into 2 with Olwen and Carrie, if you guys want to do that.
Yeah.
Kuvos will volunteer to take a watch with somebody as well.
Kuvos, are you staying up with Olwen or Carrie?
He'll stay up with Olwen.
And Naime will stay up with Carrie, because I've been looking forward to this conversation.
I love it. I love it. Can't escape now. We're in a tiny broom closet deep underground.
I love having personal conversations 2 feet away from sleeping party members. That's great.
It can be assumed that whenever we are sitting down to rest, I am setting that alarm parameter.
Got it. Yeah. It's a very small space, easy enough to completely encircle you guys. With the vines providing you guys a bit more security, you guys end up going to rest a bit uneasy as you occasionally hear a deep rumble above you or a crack from somewhere far away. It's an uneasy night.
For flavor, before she goes to sleep, and without even consulting anyone else on having another kind of body in the space, Elena casts Unseen Servant, and her servant, like, kind of tucks her in and then just sort of sits guard over her a little bit with this instruction to, like, if anything happens, wake her up.
It latches itself to, like, the vines on the wall, and thankfully it's unseen. Otherwise, you'd have this weird ghostly figure gargoyling over you all night. All right. Uneasy, very tense night of rest. Majority of you only able to sleep just due to the exhaustion of the previous day's events. Olwen and Kubos, you guys sit up for the first watch. Both of you go ahead and make me a perception check.
That's a now one for Kubos.
You are exhausted and you have a headache. You got battered pretty bad.
That is a 12 for Ola.
You guys sit up, a bit worn out from the day's events, but doing the best you can to keep watch. Anything you guys are doing, conversing about during your watch, or just going straight to the next?
I think nearing the end of the watch, Kubos watches some of the berries that Owen carries, the ones that he has, begin to wilt and sort of rot in his hands as he lets them drop to the ground. He touches one of the vines, and I'm going to convert the last 3 of my spell slots that I didn't use for 30 more good berries for the next day. As he's doing that, and the berries are coming out of the vines, he is just going to check on Kubos and say, so, how are you? You got a hit near the end there.
Yeah, it's a lot more battering than I'm used to, but I'm all right now. Thank you.
That's good.
Are you... I wasn't the one who got crushed by a rock. How are you?
Oh, no, I'm fine. Thank you for pulling me out of that. Believe it or not, I do... This is still more battering than I'm used to, but I think the difference is a little lower for me.
That's fair. I'm used to sitting at a desk and casting spells, not necessarily wandering through difficult terrains like this.
Do you enjoy doing that, by the way?
I mean, I enjoy the study. I enjoy learning about new things that I didn't know before. It's interesting putting them into common practice, though. And that's a new type of learning that I haven't quite gotten the chance to do before now. So.
Well, what I mean is, you opened up to us about what's happening back home for you. Do you think you would still be learning the same things if that never happened?
Well, I think at some point I would still like to have learned magic. Would I have gone about it in the same way? Not necessarily. I mean, we don't have the conclave in Ashador. So, but I do miss home. And the more I can learn, the faster I can get back.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, no, I don't want to overreach or anything, but I think I know a little bit of how that feels. Truth be told, I don't think I'd be doing a lot of the things I do now if I had the chance not to.
What would you do instead?
Work with leather. Family's done it for years. My mom taught me. Well, yeah. Never really gonna be good at it now, unfortunately.
I doubt that. I'd say the craftsmanship you did on everyone's armor and, well, I haven't had a chance to wear it much, but my coat is pretty exemplary.
Thank you. You should see what some of the other people back home are able to do with this sort of stuff. It's incredible. People dedicate their lives to it. It's dedicating your life to something you want to do, something you feel strongly about. That's something. I think Ku is going to see Olwen as he's like talking about how he doesn't think he'll ever be able to do it as well as the people back home. I think Kuos will just notice that now that it's sort of quiet and everything's still, Olwen's hands do have like a tremor. It's constant. They sort of just shake on their own, especially when he's not doing anything with them.
I think noticing that, he would say, if this is an overreach, then you don't have to answer. Were you injured somehow? Kind of nodding to his hands.
I think Olwen's going to take off the leather gloves that he usually wears. Olwen has several fingers that are missing. He doesn't have the ring finger on his left hand and the pinky on his right. There's discoloration on the places where they broke off, indicative of like permanent damage from like frostbite. And there's just a tremor to his hands. Inside the wooden gloves, there are inside of the gloves, there are like these small wooden fillings for where the fingers are supposed to be. But other than that, no, his hands are just kind of shaking and missing those little appendages. It happened when I was a lot younger. Made bad decisions. Got caught in a blizzard for hours. I got away with my life, so lucky enough, thankful enough.
I'm sorry. You may have escaped with your life, but that's not an easy thing to live with.
No, hey, don't worry about it. If I was half as smart as you at that age, I'm sure I would have not found myself in that situation anyway.
I don't necessarily claim to be smart, and as it's been pointed out to me, in the past, my smarts from books only have so many applications. You're smart in a different way.
You apply them well.
And I think Kuvos kind of falls silent for a moment, thinking about it. And he kind of looks to Olwen again. When did you figure out how to connect with nature in the way that you do your magic?
Raises the hands again, sort of showing that. And he says, same day this happened. I was... bad things were already bad back home when I was younger. I was dumb. I was a kid. I tried to do what I'm doing now without any of the ability to actually pull it off. Got caught in a really bad blizzard, was trapped underneath the snow for a few hours. Too long. I should have been dead. My dad was the one that taught me how to speak the words that I do. Taught me about how you are part of the world. And if the world itself has these abilities, has this magic to it, then there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to use it yourself. Not because you're special, not because you command it, but because you're part of that. Yeah, that's how he explained it anyway. There was a lot more to it. He was able to put it better than I could, but when I was underneath that snow, I was passing out, and I whispered something to myself. I said that I didn't want to die. Nothing happened. I wasn't able to cast some sort of new magic or anything like that, but something else also didn't want to. Kept me company long enough until my mom found me in there with a couple of the other people back home.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Glad I didn't either.
You see that he's kind of deep in thought at this point. His eyes have been kind of unfocused this whole time. Like he's fighting off the sleep and exhaustion, but is genuinely curious as he's asking Olwen these questions.
I think to just like sort of round off the night as like Kuvos is falling asleep, Olwen is going to ask, hey, what does the ocean smell like? That's what you called it, right?
Yes. It smells like salt and you wouldn't know what seaweed smells like. It's hard to describe because it really just smells like home to me, but salt and this fresh... There's almost like a fresh bite to the air around the ocean. It's wonderful.
As Kuvos is starting to fall asleep, I would like to cast Druidcraft to recreate the spell as best as I can.
And I think you see him kind of smile as he starts drifting off, kind of like knees hugged to his chest, and like... I think Kari would almost like dip out of like where she would have been hiding in his robes after all of like the rock fall, like spelling it, almost expecting to see the ocean. And then see Olwen instead.
Well, Olwen will, with Kari's permission, sort of just pat their head to get them to fall asleep. And as soon as those two are asleep, I'll go ahead and wake up Carrie and Naime to take over the ship.
You round out your shift of watch, waking the next two individuals to take over after you. As you curl up in the small space you have to go to sleep, Kari at one point kind of drowsily gets up from Kuvos and goes and cuddles in with you for a little bit to sleep the remainder of the night there as well. She snores very lightly. It's the cutest goddamn thing you've ever heard. She has the smallest little snot bubble.
Okay, yeah, you can sleep here, it's fine.
You go to sleep. Carrie and Naime, at the top of your watch, go ahead and each of you give me perception checks.
24.
Wonderful.
Ever the eagle-eyed. 6.
Amazing. Yeah. Carrie, you got a full night's rest already. You are in your element. You had a very eye-opening encounter earlier. You are, honestly, compared to everyone else, you're kind of at your peak right now.
I'm feeling so centered and grounded and calm. I got my 4 hours of rest, staring blankly ahead. I sleep with my eyes open.
It's horrifying.
That 4-hour meditation that elves do. Yep.
Yeah, amazing.
So waking me up is just tapping me on the shoulder and having me just turn my head and being like, "Oh, it's time." I don't have to open my eyes.
It's horrifying. There have been nights with the party in the Bardo where you have come out of your rest with the blanket over you because everyone just got too tired of you staring at them while they slept. It's disturbing.
That's fine. I respect that.
All right.
So from the moment that they get settled in for their watch, Carrie will notice out of the corner of their eye that Naime is constantly looking over, very distracted from anything else that might threaten the group, looking over at Carrie, a question behind the eyes, but the bravery to ask keeps slipping, and it's like that for at least an hour or so.
I think I have the active perception for, keeping the eye out for dangers, but I think with the passive perception of 16 and the matching passive insight of 16, I will clock out of the corner of my eye, the burning question under the surface that someone will not spit out. So I think after a very excruciating hour for Naime, without really bothering to turn or fully engage, Cerridwen will just say, "Spit it out."
Naime deflates a little bit, unsure of how to proceed, even though this question has been burning for a while.
Sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable. You seem disinterested in my existence, I suppose. So it has been hard to approach.
It is not that your existence, such as it is, does not interest me. On the contrary, I think it is perhaps one of the most interesting things we could have encountered thus far in our journey, but I am wary of it, I suppose. I'm not really aware of anyone else who has gone beyond the tethers of this world as we know it, and I cannot say that I am eager to know more. And I must admit, it is very disconcerting to see Suda's body and hear your voice, and that's no fault of your own, but it is a little weird. I'll give you that.
She has a fondness for you, and that makes this a little uncomfortable as well. Oh, I'm sorry. I probably should not have exposed that, but since it is just you, I feel I can give up a secret of my sister's once in a while. But you mentioned that you are another person who has crossed the veil by your context. So you are familiar with death.
Intimately.
Then I guess there would be no more appropriate person to ask. How do you know that you still live?
I don't.
Name seems crestfallen at that response. Like there was a hope, and that answer just snuffed it out.
I think Carrie will catch a little bit of that deflation. I admit that I have not spent a lot of time thinking about what it is to be alive. Life was never really my business. It was always death. It is almost all I have known. And all I know now is that I move through this world because I was chosen to. Whether that is life as others might understand it, I'm not sure. I'm also not sure it matters, at least not to me. I can see that it matters to you.
It does. From what you say, you have been brought back for purpose, with a mission, a goal, an objective, a reason. For myself, I am here with no good reason. I have no purpose. And sometimes I wonder if I'm actually here at all.
Where do you go when you're not here?
Memory is fuzzy, vague, when I come to the forefront. I have images of roiling darkness, of shadow, tangible, that I can weave. But there's something in that darkness, that void that hunts me. So when I come to consciousness, it is feelings of being pursued or just fear and anxiety. But what to call that place, I have nothing. It is nothing.
When I was not here, I was not in nothing.
Where were you?
I saw the veil that covers the world, the smoke, the ocean, an endless, roiling expanse of something beyond. It was not nothingness, it was everything. And I heard a voice. I do not feel as though I am being hunted or pursued or chased, but I know I am being watched. Always.
Presumably by whatever being has set you back on your path. You are blessed, I'd say.
Perhaps. Blessed, burdened. Two sides of the same coin. Their name is Marok. They are the god of the buried. And they brought me back.
I'm not familiar with this deity, this entity, but it sounds like they have a lovely afterlife.
Lovely might not be a word I would use. I'm not even sure that was the afterlife or an in-between place or somewhere truly here where we all might go one day. Our wizards might know more. I was never one for study.
Yeah, you and Suda both. Sadly, I've been out of academia for so long that my knowledge is old and useless.
I'm not sure any knowledge is useless. Look where we are. I mean, who could pretend to know anything about what is happening? I'm certain what you know isn't useless, and we all must have some kind of purpose. I was no one and nothing, and here I am still. Surely you must have a purpose as well. Sorry, I can't tell you what it is.
Well, I can't expect that you know what my purpose is if I even have one. But I thank you for providing some wisdom.
If I may, I have yet to share the name of my deity with other members of this party, though I am sure some of them would dearly love to know. I would ask that you keep that to yourself.
Their name is safe with me. I will not willingly give up that.
Thank you, Naime.
Of course. Suda would not let me live it down if I did.
It's not that you are an unwelcome addition to our party by any means. I think perhaps it is good for Kuvos, and I know some of us are harder to get along with than others, but it would be nice to have Suda back again one day.
There is a fleeting moment when you mention Kuvos that Naime's eye turns to the young mage, and there is just a look of fondness and regret before she turns back.
I don't know when she'll be back. I rarely control these things. But I'm sure that she will see the light very shortly. Thank you again.
And Naime will busy herself peering around the cavern and waiting until the next shift.
Carrie settles back into, a watchfulness pose, just eerily still.
You continue your watch for a couple more hours while everyone gets their full night's rest. I think eventually with the much, much lower perception, Naime eventually drifts off to sleep again, kind of settling into the bit of tense peace the party is experiencing in this moment. As the watch sort of comes to a close, Carrie, it's like at the very end when everyone's gotten full night's rest. Some are maybe beginning to stir. Leto wakes up and sits up a bit, sort of blinking sleep from his eyes. And with the entangled vines covering the walls and ceiling, you feel a bit of dust fall and kind of settle on your shoulder. For some reason, draws your attention over. Look at the dust. A bit more dust falls. Glance around everyone around you, and you look up. A gnarled, horrific face made out of a husk, made out of dust, a shell of a person, looking like it's made out of nothing but thin, molded paper and parchment, large, empty eyes bearing the visage of a skull with flesh freshly torn from its face. You see has dug its way through the vines and has been staring down at you. And the moment you see it, soundlessly, moving at impossible speeds, it shoots forward. Everyone roll initiative. Those of you who are still asleep, which is everyone, because this is at the end of the watch, roll with disadvantage.
Fuck that!
Carrie, you are the only one unaffected by a surprise round.
I hate that.
That's so fucking scary. I haven't been able to cast my mage armor over yet then.
I know! Oh my god! Hey, do you guys remember, that's actually an excellent point for audience's sake as well. In our session 0, we discussed some home rules. A thing I mentioned is you cannot sleep with armor on, otherwise you will suffer a level of exhaustion. You guys are coming out of a rest. This morning ambush means nobody is wearing armor.
I am.
Yeah, no, I don't have... Sage wakes up and casts mage armor, so she doesn't have her arcane ward up or nothing.
You don't have your arcane ward, you don't have mage armor, no one's wearing their armor.
Except for me.
Nighttime rest ambushes, guys! I love it! Gloves off. Discarded.
God, that's such a fucking scary description, G. I'm terrified. Oh my god,
I know,
that was so scary.
I thought it was Barak for a second.
You were saying dust, and I was sitting here muted going, bone dust? Is it bone dust? Is it bone dust? Carrie would recognize bone dust. It's bone dust, isn't it?
Yeah, anyways. So anyone above 20? Okay, 15 to 20.
15.
15 for Kuvos as well.
15 for Naomi.
Okay, who has higher dex?
I've got a 14 plus 2 to dex.
I only have a +1 to dex, so...
Okay, Naime, what's your dex?
+3.
+3. Okay, so we're gonna go Naime, Alina, Kubos. 15 to 10.
11.
10 to 5.
6. Oh, tied. You definitely have higher dex than me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little context for the space you guys are in since we are entering initiative. Like I said, it's about broom closet size. So it is essentially like a 5x5 little area that's about 25 feet tall. It's much taller than it is wide. You guys are all kind of piled on top of each other, so there's really not a lot of room to navigate. So if you guys are trying to move around in this space, you are kind of climbing on top of each other. So essentially where everyone is standing, sitting, is where you are for this ambush. There is really no room to move or navigate. This thing is floating. This thing can take much more advantage of the space that you guys are occupying because it can take advantage of the vertical space. So, with all that in mind of the kind of space that you guys are in, we are going to have the Husk act first. Given that Carrie is the one that has seen it, this Husk is going to go for you first, Cerridwen. Yeah, it's going to go ahead and take its 2 attacks on you.
Yeah, why not?
First one is 21 to hit.
Yeah,
Second one is going to be 15 to hit.
that just hits.
Got it. Okay, so both of them hit. Go ahead as well. Make me... Actually, I don't think this requires a save because both of them hit. It does not. If both of them hit, you are under the grappled condition. So, it hits you, it flies towards you, and though it looks like it's made out of like shredded molded paper with like a skeletal face, again, these sort of undead remains of what at this point you have to assume are the missing mercenaries that Leto sent. Though it looks light and airy and it's kind of floating through the air like tissue paper, it hits you with an incredible force. This thing fires forward and raises up one like molted arm and just clocks you right across the face. The second one hitting you kind of at the back, the base of your neck, at the same time keeping that arm wrapped around you and basically like bear hugs you towards its body. For this first attack, yikes. That first attack rolled really good damage, is 12. The second attack is 10. So 22, and you are grappled. But that is its attack for this first round. In this surprise round, Carrie, you are the only one who can act. Please go ahead and tell me what you would like to do.
I have an insane thing I'd like to try.
Please, I love it.
I'm feeling newly empowered. I just had a really meaningful and moving discussion with one of my party members, really leaning into the fact that I serve a deity, and I would like to channel divinity and turn undead.
Hell yes, please.
So it is a wisdom save.
You succeed against it. It fails its save. It rolled a 5, only +1 for 6. So please go ahead and read the turn undead description for us.
As an action, you present your holy symbol and speak a prayer centering the undead. Each undead that can see or hear you within 30 feet, and a wisdom save, blah, blah, blah. If the creature fails its saving throw, it is turned for 1 minute or until it takes any damage. A turned creature must spend its turns trying to move as far away from you as it can. It cannot willingly move to a space within 30 feet of you. It cannot take reactions. For its action, it can only use the dash action or try to escape from an effect that prevents it from moving. If there is nowhere to move, the creature can dodge.
You react almost instinctively to this thing getting a massive hit on you and trapping you within its dreadful embrace. You clutch at your holy symbol and without even thinking, send off this divine prayer almost. And again, without making a single noise, it recoils as if it's been hit and releases you and begins to move back rapidly. You do get an attack of opportunity, as you are the only one with a reaction in this moment.
I will
you are
not take
taking it. You see it reels back, and at the same time you notice that one reeling back, you see over your right shoulder the hands of a second one that were reaching out that suddenly withdraw with rapid urgency. And you see the one behind you withdraws, the one in front of you that attacked quickly moves back, and it squeezes itself between the vines and once again disappears from sight. We are still in initiative, but at the moment, they are gone and unseen. At the top of the round, it is its turn again, and Turn Undead is still active and is going to continue its action. So, we exit our surprise round with the two having been turned. We are still in initiative, but you guys are all, suddenly, waking up, the alarm going off from the spell. You guys are suddenly being ambushed. You see Carrie having taken this big hit. There's a dust all over your front and your face from where it was bear hugging you, and you see there's a large gash along Carrie's jaw from where they were hit, and you can already feel a bruise forming at the base of your neck behind you. Carrie has definitely taken a hit, but these things are no longer here. So I'm not going to go individually since they're kind of being turned right now. But what would you kind of as a collective group like to do in this moment?
I cast light on the first thing I can touch.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll take a full minute to put armor on.
Mage armor. Boop.
So I think in sort of casting that sort of divine magic out, and in my mind, I see it as almost like negative light is the closest phrasing I can get to it. Light that contains shadow just sort of bursts out, and that sort of divinity question mark. And I think Carrie will scream, run! We gotta get out of here. This is not a good situation.
Yeah, I'll give you guys, I think, the two options that make the most sense, and of course you guys feel free to do whatever. Grab your stuff and leave, or take the minute that they're being turned to don armor and get ready. So are you guys fleeing or are you fighting, essentially?
We can't move fast enough.
We're going to die if we fight in this space. Let's go.
I was going to say, I'm going to follow Carrie's suggestion, because
All right.
they seem to know what's up.
I feel like those of us who have mage armor can run and cast mage armor on ourselves, possibly?
Yeah, depending if you're taking a dash action or not.
Because it's just a one action thing.
I will say, depending, if you guys decide you want to flee, the turn undead lasts for a minute. They're not taking damage. You guys can exit initiative if you just spend the whole minute fleeing, dash action stuff. If you guys want to spend the minute donning armor and getting ready to fight, we'll stay in initiative. But depending if you guys want to do this encounter or not, essentially you guys have the choice because of that excellent use of turn undead.
If Carrie says run, then Kuvos is going to run.
You guys get up, no time to even don armor or get weapons ready. You guys just grab everything in your arms. You see Leto, in the moment you guys are gathering all your stuff, is just packing up the heart mimic and turns, and again, without even setting it off because there is no time, just goes to the nearest passageway, another narrow entrance of single file, and just motions everyone in. You guys all gathering your things in a bit of a panic squeeze through the vines and the rock, and you dash away from this encounter. We will exit initiative in amazing use of Turn Undead that avoided this very harmful encounter. As we exit this encounter, our party fleeing through the rock and the stone, once again, beginning the day where it ended the previous night, out of breath, a bit panicked, at least one of you taking a pretty big hit, going deeper into more Akros, not sure where you're going to end up. And as we kind of wind down our session for today, I just want to ask Kuvos, what is your passive perception?
My passive perception is 15.
15? As you're fleeing with the rest of the party, you don't know if it's the tense rest or the even worse awakening you had or something else entirely. The hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And as you're fleeing, you bear yourself just the briefest of moments to look over your shoulder into the dark passage. And you don't see anything. But you feel like there was something that was looking your way specifically.
I hate that.
A bit of a sick feeling in the pit of your stomach as you turn your attention back to the party and continue to flee your way through the twisting, winding maze of more Akros. And that, my friends, is where we're going to end today's session.
Woohoo!
I hope you all enjoyed. I'm ready to beat the shit out of this party now.
I'm
God.
delighted. I am delighted. Let me be clear.
I love it.
Combat lover Grace was like, I want to fight. Carrie, who's like, this is not a good situation. We gotta go.
Don't worry, you guys will get another chance.
Yeah, it's like you have to do the in-character thing, even if you kind of want to figure out how to survive that without running.
Amazing use of Turn Undead, truthfully.
Really cool.
Just
Clutch.
props to you, Grace. That was insanely good. I was about to get your ass.
I know. I know. Not today, Satan.
Didn't even get to use their special ability. Okay. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you enjoyed as we continue deeper into the underground of more Akros. Come and join us next time as things get even more real than before. Thanks for joining us again, and everyone, please remember, take care of yourselves today. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Help!
He seems like a bottom.